FlySafair, Mango and Airlink are continuing to offer domestic flights. This comes despite lockdown level 4 restrictions, which include the prohibition on all non-essential travel in and out of Gauteng.
Now, Comair, which operates Kulula and British Airways, and Lift Airline have announced they'll be suspending all scheduled flights for 3 weeks. Consumers have been sharing their frustrations over the lack of communication, lack of clarity on refunds and inconvenience on social media.
To talk more on the cancellation of flights during level 4 lockdown, we're joined by independent consumer journalist Wendy Knowler.
A very good morning to you, Wendy. Thank you so much for your time. So, what exactly are the regulations that govern the cancellation of flights? I mean, are airlines even allowed to be doing this?
Well, nothing's stopping them from doing it. It's essentially an economic decision because they're saying, you know, with the lack of only business flights into essential flights into Gauteng, all the leisure flights pretty much drying up. It's not economically viable. So they can do it, but the question is, are they going to treat their customers fairly and legally in the process? So if you pay for something according to the Consumer Protection Act and you don't get it, you are entitled to a refund. But the last 15 months has kind of thrown all of that on its head because, you know, businesses are battling to survive. And I've battled with this issue as a consumer journalist because it's not black and white anymore. So if a company's not going to be able to survive or if they issue refunds or literally doesn't have the money, then there's a problem. And it was interesting. I mean, the story, I wrote the story on Friday, and it's a tricky time to get hold of companies. But if you read the various airlines' statements on this issue, the word refund doesn't appear anywhere. The closest they get is Lift Airline, which says that no penalty fees will apply for cancellation or flight changes, but a difference in fare may apply to flight changes. So obviously, you know, the flight that you book later very well could be more expensive. But it certainly doesn't seem as if Comair, which operates Kulula and BA, is going to entertain the idea of refunds, and that is clearly problematic because they're not, you know, this is a voluntary decision they've taken, and it's affecting many people who bought tickets in good faith.
Wendy, while we understand the financial predicament these businesses find themselves in, and essentially we have to think of them as businesses regardless of our own inconvenience, speaking as consumers. We're talking specifically about refunds. You've said that Comair has not mentioned refunds in the statements they've issued. We know that from past lockdowns when travel was restricted, certain airlines offered vouchers instead of refunds, implying that you would still have to be bound to flying at some stage. In some cases, those vouchers were time-bound. What are the legal issues and the protection of consumers' rights with regard to limited duration refunds or vouchers?
So, yeah, with a prepaid voucher, in this case, it would fall under that provision of the CPA. It has to be valid for up to 3 years. So they can't say you have to fly within 12 months. Legally, they can't. But what I've discovered, I have to say, the last 15 months is that all sorts of irregular and illegal, in terms of the Consumer Protection Act, behavior on the part of companies is very much happening. And I can't see how consumers are going to get recourse. It's just on such a wide scale. I mean, that's, for me, has been the story as a consumer journalist of COVID. Take, for example, now, so many weddings that were hurriedly arranged. Oh, we've got a gap now, let's get married. You couldn't get married last year. Booked June, 4 July, suddenly third wave. Oh, let's cancel. The companies spent that deposit. It just physically isn't there. They've paid their staff, they've paid their water and lights bill. And so now how does that person get recourse when there isn't actually any money to pay them?